Good evening, everyone. Happy Friday and welcome to A World Awakening. My name is Erin Bush and I am filling in for the Queen of High Strangeness. She is off in, what did she call it the other day? Holy Toledo at the Midwest Parafest this weekend. So she's doing that. So I'm filling in and I'm super excited about our guest tonight. I've been wanting to bring her on a really long time. And she was my very first mentor. She's the reason I'm really sitting in this chair right now for a lot of reasons. Before meeting Catherine, I knew nothing about energy work, chakras, how to handle and process trauma, how to connect with spirit. The only thing I knew when I walked into her office for the first time was the colors of chakras were pretty. That was about all I had. So this woman is a huge influence on my life. She completely changed things for me. I owe her a lot, and it's really been an honor to have learned from her, and then to also be able to continue to watch her grow and all the different things that she's doing. And since we're only on an hour with the World Awakening these days, without further ado, I'd like to bring on Catherine Heymsfeld. Hello,
Hi,
Sunshine.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here and just see your growth. My goodness.
Whoo, girl. Wouldn't
Such
have
a
had it without
blossoming.
you.
Oh, well, I'm
So
divinely guided on this path. And, I really believe whoever is meant to work with me and I'm meant to work with them comes through. And you're one of those people. It's wonderful.
We've had a lot of, and you're such a bright light. And I feel like, Catherine also lives in St. Augustine where I live. And so we are a very tiny haunted town, but we also have a massively huge spiritual healer community here as well. And I had no idea. And so to walk into your office and to this entirely brand new life has been beyond eye-opening, would be the easiest way to sum it up. But with that being said, why don't you kind of, let our community know, those of us who are, those who are joining us live, those who are going to be watching the replay, just kind of fill us in, who you are, what you do, how you got here. Give me the skinny for everybody.
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, since you and I met, I think it was in 2016, the spiritual community in St. Augustine has just mushroomed, and we're all coming together, and it's just beautiful to do these kind of shows and networking events. I myself have been a soul practitioner of metaphysics since I was 9. And actually, that is a flyer for a course that I'm running right now. My partner and I have a new company called Nourish, and we have a series on psychic development. So interestingly enough, that journey started when I was 9, and it was a very circuitous journey. I started getting interested in astrology, and I knew that I could see auras. And my mother took me to a psychic fair. And so there it began. And even though my career path took different terms in terms of the therapy world, the recovery world, the healing world, I was always weaving it back to the spiritual.
Right.
And have taken, studied with many different practitioners of yoga, pakwa. There's a form of Chinese Reiki that I learned to do there. And card reading is something that also fell in my lap, which there's no accidents, right? When someone gives us a pack of tarot cards and we start reading, which that was when I was about 20, it's, they've been with me ever since. And now I teach classes. So that flyer that you all saw this Sunday, we have a Tarot 101 class, which I think you saw. You came to that class, Erin, a few years ago.
I did take that class, and it was awesome. Yes. And it was great because I think it was like several hours, so much information packed into that course, which was great.
It's really just such a love for me to teach that, because I learned pretty much on my own, and I've taken different courses here and there, but to really kind of share how it's integrated within me. Also, in the past, I would say 7 years, my mediumship abilities have really come through, and I was guided to utilize them full time and really help people through the gift of mediumship and divination clear their traumas, check in with their past lives and their Akashic records.
Yep.
And just really connect to their intuition and to source with the purpose of raising your vibration, with the purpose of finding your true north.
Yeah.
And that's what I see that you've done, which is so cool.
Well, I think, especially because obviously you did the counseling end of it for a long time, which is how we met. And I think what's fascinating about what you do is that even though you're not doing the counseling part of it anymore, is it gave, I think people are desperate for a different option aside from heavy duty drugs. And how does that make you feel? Like, talk therapy is great. It definitely has its purpose, but I had done that several times. It just wasn't working for me. And then to open the doors to all these different modalities to heal trauma with, whether it's tapping or it's, a regression work, I mean, I had no idea that any of that stuff existed. And I learned more in that first year than I had in 12 to 14 years of therapy.
Wow.
Because, you work with energy, and it was the first thing that ever made sense to me.
I'm so glad to hear that, because that was kind of my feeling about being in that field for so long and realizing there's a quicker way to get to the root of the problem.
Yes.
Because there's management of symptoms.
Yeah.
There's the whole realm of diagnosing, assessing, and symptoms. Whereas when you're looking at the spiritual root of things and the spiritual conditions that we all have, then you can start to get somewhere. And that's where the spiritual realm comes in, because first of all, we're a soul. First of all, we're an energy.
Yep. Soul in a meat suit. Meat suit's temporary.
Exactly.
And that was a huge eye opener for me. I mean, I had no idea that you could do this kind of work. And you and I have we've talked about emotion code. There's so many different ways to get to the root of these things that are absolutely beyond powerful. But you're also kind of getting into doing that, helping spirit as well. So like, you channel spirit, which we're gonna have to talk about how you channel spirit, because this girl can channel some serious stuff. I've seen it, like, it's crazy. So but if because obviously we're paranormal people too, so you started integrating what you had already been doing into the paranormal side of things too. So if you want to kind of give us the skinny on that as well.
Sure, Erin, because I was so excited for this show for that reason. I started doing house clearings and blessings. And actually, before the house clearing, a lot of people will be coming to me for readings and mediumship to heal situations with loved ones who crossed over, or where there was a difficulty in them crossing over, i.e. it was traumatic, it's unresolved. And so to be able to be a channel and a conduit for that level of communication and healing was so powerful to me. And to see how these spirits came through and just really wanted to share with their loved ones from the other side how they were doing, that they were okay, that they're watching over them, circumstances around their passing, all those incredible things. And I just realized that was my niche, or one of them. And what that translated into was spirits and energies and entities in people's homes. So how wonderful.
Hi,
I can't see the comments, but thank you, Stella. That's beautiful. Stella is...
Hey, Ken.
Hi, everybody.
We're also simulcast streaming on Dead Air Full Spectrum, which is another awesome paranormal channel for all things spooky and fun and weird, which we love.
I'm so excited to just delve into this realm more, because part of what I'm teaching my students in my psychic development class is how to channel spirit, how to clear energy, and our healing gifts for those of us who are energy workers, light workers, Reiki practitioners, cord cutters, chakra clearers. We can do that, whether the spirits are present in someone's space or whether their energies are attached.
Right.
And so when it seemed like, the spirits themselves were having trouble releasing, the spirits themselves were feeling unresolved. I'll give you a beautiful story about our psychic development class on Sunday this past week. we went to a little cemetery here that's so cute. It's from 1877, and it's this
Okay.
sweet little cemetery. And I was teaching my students, we always clear, ground, and shield, and you create this conduit to connect to
Yep.
the energies. And there were certain graves that were unmarked that said unknown, or an infant had passed from very long ago. And so the students were connecting and channeling with those spirits. And there was a few who really needed healing. And so actually, I don't think Stella would mind if I shared her story. She connected with this grave of an unknown person, and we started channeling and connecting. And this person was, you know, homeless, had suffered from mental illness, was disconnected from his family, but someone had taken the time to bury him. But there
Right.
were no visitors and no names. So she received a beautiful message, and I'll keep that part private, but she ended up connecting and coming back and placing a beautiful angel there on his grave. And then the next day he visited our house. He came to the patio,
Uh-huh. Yep.
and I saw him and I spoke to him about, I received his energy. He was thanking Stella and thanking us for coming and caring and for seeing him.
That's amazing.
And so to me, that's kind of like spiritual healing, well, with the spirits.
Yeah.
And I just think that's a neat niche. I'm looking to develop that around here, because we
Girl.
have a lot of spirits who are trapped in St. Augustine.
We do. And I think what's interesting too is I'm noticing, obviously with television and ghost shows, a lot of them have, especially in the last couple of years, it's like everything's a demon, everything's terrifying. And, but what I've started noticing now is there seems to be a shift where people are starting to focus on putting spirit first. Like you're talking about, where how can we help you from this end? Right. Like people have always wanted to do that at an investigation, asking, but people are really starting to make that more of a focus, I think. So it's an interesting side of things to be on. And as energy workers, it's all the same energy. It's just like changing the frequency on a radio, like changing to a different station.
Yes.
You know what I
Such a good
mean?
way to put it. Totally. That's when you fine tune your clairs. And in the psychic development class, for anyone interested, my contact info will be there. You could reach out on Instagram or email me. But, our students are really learning how to hone their clairs and gifts, like you did, Erin, and then be able to use them and really figure out through mentoring, what do I want to utilize these for? Personal healing and development to help others. And you may live into that answer,
Yes.
It may change, because your answer initially wasn't this.
No,
but look
not
at you
even
now.
close. I just wanted to stop, people, I think a lot of times, and you can attest to this, when you start this journey, if you weren't already in a position where your abilities came in young, or, it wasn't something that's always been with you, or it was, and you just didn't tap into it. There's Catherine's website info right there. There's quite a bit of time spent rocking in the corner crying. Like they could stop, for a lot of people, once that door opens, it comes in like a freight train. And I think that, focusing on the clairs is so important, because you only really hear about, the main ones, clairvoyance and clairaudience, but then you start getting into like clairsentience, and then under that clairsomatic. Like there's all these different things that really help you figure out what your body is capable of tapping into. Like, do you think that's one of the most important starting points, is starting with trying to figure out what your clairs are after you learn to ground, shield, and clear?
Bam, you said it. You knew I was going to say that.
Yep.
My students never forget me going over and over the clear, grounded shield. So important, because we don't want to draw in unwanted entities or energies to kind of muddle the process. Because when you're trying to figure out, what are my clairs, through which of my senses do I perceive this extrasensory perception? So clairvoyance is sight, right? Clairaudience is hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Clairgustience is taste. Clairaudience is smell. Mm-hmm. Claircognizance is knowing.
Yep.
And then, as you said, clairsentience, the empath, feeling, or the somatic, internalizing in your body. And then there's the kinesthetic, where the energy comes through you and moves you, which is a whole other thing. We've got to talk about that a little later, because I just had a really incredible experience in talking to one of my clients, one of my mentees, who you actually know. Um,
Uh-huh.
we were having a conversation about a spirit in her family who really, from the other side, what I was getting from him, he wants to learn how to move energy down here on earth. He wants to develop his clairs from the other side. It's amazing.
That's fascinating
Isn't that
because now
incredible?
you're getting to the point where it's past, can you knock three? Like you're getting that validation that they're there, but now they're starting to understand, oh, well, we can be a player in this too. Like we can learn too. And it's interesting to watch like our friends Cody and Satori with their method, which it's a whole thing. It's nuts, but they're getting that kind of information as well. Like starting to figure out, can other, if you have entities from two different time periods in the same location, can they see each other? And they got an answer at one event. It was like, no, but they're aware of each other, but they can't see each other. So we're now getting to all these different levels.
Oh, they're aware of each other, but they can't see each other. Fascinating.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a totally different type of thing that you're tapping into when you're doing it from that perspective, which I find fascinating. That you're doing.
There's just so many levels and layers of consciousness. So many levels of beings, and then it's, as far as the spirit realm, like what is their role? The ones who do ascend but want to help, the ones who decide to come back,
right?
Because they have other chapters in their Akashic record that they need to fulfill for their soul purpose.
It's all fascinating. What of all the things you do, and you do a lot of stuff.
I do.
Do you have one that holds your heart closer than anything else?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Can I share a story about you?
Of course you can. Yeah, sure.
Because that came through and I was like, we need to talk about this because that was so powerful. I am very lit up by past lives and how our soul, when we retrieve those past life memories, gets more integrated and evolved, and we're able to up level. And it's so amazing. I mean, this lifetime has enough for sure.
Right.
But the idea that our soul has repeated karmic patterns or as pieces of ourself that were lost, and the twist that happened in your plot of you being someone, one of your past lives was somebody in your ancestral tree, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That
more
was
than once.
More than, I mean, that to me is just, it's so amazing to tap into these mysteries and our connection, our soul's connection to different historical times, different experiences that are now coming together at this point in time for us to be open about and talk about, because the planet is in need of that level of information and up leveling.
Oh, completely agree. I mean, are you finding people are just like spontaneously opening? People are, or you're getting the other end of the spectrum. Like, I'm fed up. I can't deal with anymore. I need something else. It's like all the stuff that we've been dealing with on this planet the last, for a really long time, but specifically the last 3 years, it's just blowing people wide open.
Yes.
Because we need as many people that are working with the light as we can possibly get,
Absolutely. And what allows us to work more with the light energy is clearing the shadows in the dark and getting those lessons and getting more compassion but also strength in that compassion.
Shadow work is so underrated. I mean, I think there's a lot of places where we see kind of that toxic spirituality, toxic positivity, where it's all sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns 24 hours a day.
Right.
But I think where people miss the boat is the really not fun side of it. And you watched me go through the shadow work portion, a lot of it anyway. And that's not fun. It's not fun. It's painful. It's ugly. I always say it's literally pulling out the deepest, darkest, nastiest parts of yourself and learning to love them anyway.
Exactly. And learning the value, because there's a little nugget, there's a lesson in there. And once we get that lesson and we're able to understand it on, how it manifests mentally, emotionally, physiologically, and then spiritually in terms of our Akashic record, right? Our soul's blueprint, we can close that chapter and clear that cord. And then we free up room on the hard drive, right? For our new mission or our new life. Because some people who I work with are vibrating, they're they're going through a spiritual crisis, they're feeling different, they're feeling unsure, anxiety, because they're waking up their third eye.
Yeah.
And they start tapping into their clairs and what their gifts are, and then start utilizing that for their healing. It can be scary if you grew up in a family, for example, where that wasn't allowed, or that was called, evil, negative, whatever.
Right.
Or if you don't know what's happening to you, you think it's, a mental health issue, and it isn't. But when you get through that icky stage and kind of watch your mind, like Eckhart Tolle talks about, like watch the process, have this observer who knows what's going on, then you get to the other side of that and it feels so good once you recalibrate. And
it's true.
Yeah.
This kind of work, it's not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. But my God, what you can do to your own life in a short amount of time if you decide to just jump in and figure it out. I mean, and nobody does it beautifully. I mean,
it's not graceful.
It's not. It's messy. It's ugly. And for most of us, we don't know anything about anything. So we have to have someone like you step in and be like, okay, here, follow me. It's fine. You're going to survive.
Right.
It's going to be fine. But it's having a whole different, it's like getting the tools you didn't get that you wished you'd had as children.
Right. And that's actually another thing I'd love to talk about is the Psychic Kids class that we are running through the Nurse series. We have children from the age of 9 right now to 14. And I've had kids of different ages before who I work with individually, but this group is really exciting to me because they are very magical children who are empathic and desperately need those tools right now to help shield themselves and really help be who they came here to be, which is the light, which is the love, which is, the crystal and rainbow children.
Yes.
And they're very vulnerable to all the energies, all the harshness, and yet their parents are, have already kind of awakened and are saying, yeah, I want my child to go to this class. And it's so much fun.
Well, and can you imagine if energy, I mean, obviously you learn about energy from a fossil fuel standpoint in school, but can you imagine if at a school level you started, I mean, and I know they're starting to integrate meditation and mindfulness and things like that, but if you really started teaching the effects of energy, because like you were saying, the hard drive is full. Right. Like I know from a healer's perspective, as a channeler of energy, people can't figure out why they're so angry all the time. I'm like, because you have run out of, I use the internet, like your bandwidth's full.
Right.
So if your bandwidth's full, you can't take anything good in, and you're certainly not putting anything good out. So we got to like shake you up a little bit, turn you upside down, clear you out a little bit so you can take it in, but you don't know what you don't know. And so these kids that you're teaching are getting such a leg up on managing that life, which has not been kind for a lot of people. Like it couldn't have been easy for you growing up as a child dealing with that. I've got a lot of friends who grew up like that. And some of them, it was awful because they didn't see nice things. They saw nasty things.
Well, and also when you're a sensitive child, and especially in the, earlier decades, there was something wrong with you.
Right.
You're too sensitive, or, again, you have a mental health issue, you have anxiety, you have this. Well, of course you're going to have anxiety if you're a very pure antenna and you're open and you don't know how to contain it or shield it and you're just receiving.
Yeah. It's like sponge that just gets too full of water. Do you have okay, so I always ask people this, and I think I know the answer to this, but for everybody else, do you have a way that you, like if you go into a house clearing or even before a session, what's your quickest, most favorite way to ground and clear your energy?
You can do this little ditty really quick, putting your feet on the ground, on the earth, 3 deep breaths, breathing in just a channel of light and just imagine it just whooshing through your body from way out in the cosmos, grounding in the earth with roots, and rising up and spiraling around you in shields.
Love it.
White light, rose gold, violet and blue rays, each shield doing a different thing to transmute, transform, protect, bring out self-healing and compassion. And so just doing that very quick, because it's so ingrained. I do that. Sometimes I'll just have a little crystal in my pocket, like a selenite. And
that was going to be my next question. Your fave?
This is my favorite, just sort of zhuzhing.
It's like the dustbuster of crystals.
Right. That's a really good one. I always bring my sage and my little sprays with me, but
that's a good point too.
Yes.
Now,
Bring them.
I bracelets and pendants and,
Right.
crystals in my purse, crystals in the car, sage in the bag, sage leaves falling out. But you do, it's an energetic sensitive. And I think, I don't remember if it was you or if it was Dana that said, your energetic hygiene should be as important as brushing your teeth.
I love that. That was
And
Dana.
That's stuck
fantastic.
in my head because it makes complete sense. If you're, like you said, a giant antenna for energy, you have to do something. And even just doing a little thing is better than doing nothing.
Well, or even, shooting up an affirmation. One of my favorites is, I'm divinely aligned on the perfect path. I'm divinely protected. I'm peaceful. I'm grounded. I'm full of light and love. The divine is my source. And then I just visualize that shield running up and down.
Love it.
A lot of times too, when you are in kind of a structured practice, well, not even structured, but let's just say consistent, regular practice of meditating and sending petitions to your guides, working with an altar, any kind of thing, then all of that is kind of like in the bank, right? So
right.
If you're doing all that and then you've got your crystals and, even if you forgot, it's still there,
Right. That's a good point.
The more you do it, the better. Yeah.
I forget that. And I think that's so much a part of this work is I know for me, it's been an honor, having learned what I learned from you, to be able to start giving it back and helping other people. So you're doing your Nourish series with Stella. So do you want to kind of lay out for us what that looks like and give me all the good stuff?
Yes. This is such a beautiful expression of really helping people ground into what is their life purpose, what is their ikigai. This was Stella's brainchild. She actually was a mentee of Les Brown and did motivational speaking.
Okay.
And so she learned about the ikigai, which is a Japanese form of figuring out what is your true north, what is your life purpose, through different things like what lights you up, what are you good at, what can you make money doing, what does the world need, what's your passion. And when you start to figure this out, you can see, like, where am I off center, where am I not aligned. And Nourish has a lot of different workshops to it, but this is the one we're currently doing that's like a 6-week series.
Oh, cool.
So it's just lovely that we have a community of people who are coming to these different workshops. They can drop in or they can come to all of them and get a package for them. But it's all kind of working together, because in order to find your ikigai, you have to clear the shadows. You have to learn to kind of shield out unwanted, unnecessary information, work through resistance and blocks. And so all of these little series are just giving us so much joy, because we're seeing our clients go through the different classes and grow and build a community. And it's so much fun.
Well, and I think too, it's fun to watch the light bulb go off on someone's head. Like you've seen it a million times more than I have, and you saw it in me. So, but I think when somebody starts to figure out, like, oh, you mean I don't have to stay at this job? I don't have to stay on this. Like, I can actually choose to do something completely different. We kind of forget that, I think, or we live in a society where that's not encouraged so much. I think it's more that way now, but just to be able to tell people in a way that's constructive and kind and be like, listen, you can do whatever the hell you want to do.
Right.
But let me give you some tools to kind of help navigate it,
Well, I think so many of us are conditioned to not have inner authority. And this is something I've been thinking about a lot.
True.
To really tap into those things, your ikigai. What is my passion? Can I really make money doing my passion? Can I make money as a spiritualist, as a healer, as a paranormal investigator, as a psychic, as a medium? Yes, you can. If that's your gift and your passion, and if it's aligned with helping others, the possibilities are endless, really, because that's the recipe for prosperity right there.
No, law of attraction at its finest, right? I mean, it doesn't really care what we want. It can only give us back what we put out. But like
Mm.
this is a world I had no idea that existed until 2018 or whenever it was. I mean, I have a completely different life now. Like I had no idea. And I had not walked into that office, into your house that day. I'd still be sitting at a desk. I'd still be hating my job. I wouldn't have met all these amazing people. I wouldn't have, had all these neat opportunities and chances to change things for the better. And it's because I decided to start living with intention, which I think is the other big thing that people miss the boat on is you have to put it out there if you want it. If you don't put it out there, the universe doesn't know that that's what you want. But it's like, I think a lot of it is taking your own power back.
Yes.
We give it away all the time and from a very early age.
It sometimes takes time to clear away those layers, and figure out what is it that I really do want? What am I good at? What does the world need? I think that's, in a society driven by 3D things and, basic things where we have to pay bills and rent and mortgages and, all those things. It kind of, some people can get very off focus, and that's normal for our society, unfortunately. But when you have this awakening and you start to realize that stuff, while it's necessary, it's not fulfilling in and of itself.
Right.
To what is it, live to work versus working to live?
Yes.
Well,
even finding a balance in the two.
Yeah, it's absolutely possible. I mean, everybody isn't going to take an avocation or an interest in the paranormal, spiritual, and psychic and make a career.
Sure. Right.
But there's just so many levels that you can tap into it and at least say, okay, if I'm not feeling filled up on my life, the number one, how can I tap into source, to the bigger energy, and have the courage to let go of what isn't fulfilling?
Yeah. I mean, you've made some pretty big changes. I mean, as far as
it's
exactly that with career and all kinds of other things in the last couple of years. And change is scary. It's really scary. But it's like you said, when you fight through the tougher stuff and then you get on the other side, you're like, oh, this is much, much better.
Well, this is where, as you were talking about the shadow work before, Aaron, the spiritual tools come in handy. And I always tell people, in my experience, you never use just one tool.
No.
If you can think about the loom that we were in and all the burn ceremonies and all the releasing and all the cord cuttings and all the chakra clearings and all the journaling and all the, ceremonies and so many things.
6 months in fire. Yes. but that's where the magic is. Like you said, it's that the burning away, the transformation, the clearing, it's adopting a totally different way of living. But at the end of the day, it doesn't take that long to adopt. You know what I'm saying? Like you talk about tools, we talk about, people integrating this kind of thing into their life. It's not rocket surgery we're teaching here.
No.
Right? They're tools that you would not have thought of otherwise, but are so easy to implement all the time or every day to make your life easier.
It is easy, but when you're in fear of the unknown, or when you're,
terrified.
whether the unknown is the process or the unknown is, well, who am I going to be?
Right.
Even though I don't like where I'm at, I don't know anything else. So, so that can be scary.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole process of looking at, well, are you benefiting from this way of being, and how much, and how does that weigh against what you could be having? And so it really does require a leap of faith and that spiritual connection, which if people are cut off from that and they've had negative experiences spiritually, there's all of that to work through,
Oh yeah. Layers, always layers.
So many layers of the onion.
It all goes back to the layers. So now I cannot not have this show and not have you talk about your channeling ability. Because I think a lot of people I talk to feel like they may only have one or two clairs, right? Mm-hmm. When in reality, most people have probably a little of several of them, at least a handful of them. But your channeling is, dear God, woman, can you kind of explain to people how, or if you're willing to, like how you connect, how you get your information? What is your strongest sense, that kind of stuff?
Well, I think, first of all, I love talking about it and I love teaching about it because I think this is available to many people. It's, who wants to do it. But when you're called and that third eye starts to open, it's like a channel or a column is created when we run the energy and with intention connect to the other side. And when, I'm asked to connect with people's loved ones who they've lost, and that information drops through, it really could come through any of the clairs or, a bunch all at once. For example, I might see a movie play out, the clairvoyance. I might feel the energy of that person or feel how they died. I might sometimes feel asphyxiated or smell smoke or know something. Thoughts will just come in or they'll start communicating through my voice. And sometimes my voice will change a little bit with the type of syntax or the tone that they use, but I don't really get taken over by a spirit.
Right.
And it doesn't always happen, but it comes through in a lot of different ways. And then sometimes if the spirit is a little quiet, I might use the pendulum or the cards to tease it out or engage with my client to get more info. But a lot of times these spirits are excited to jump through and it's like they're waiting at the door.
Right. And everybody take a number, please.
Yeah. They want to heal. They, a lot of times, especially if the death was unexpected, they didn't get to say what they wanted to say.
Right.
They want their loved ones to know they're okay. And so to me, I love doing that work. And, we always call in the highest intention for people's healing and greater good. Whatever needs to come through, comes through. Saying the name of the person. When I first learned, I was in a seminar back at with Brian Weiss, who I did the past life workshop with, and he taught, kinesthetic psychic reading, where you hold an object, psychokinesis, I think it's called. And, then you read an object.
Psychometry.
Psychometry. There you go.
Yep.
I never remember the things.
I forget them too. I only remember because I have a girlfriend who's a very gifted psychometrist.
It's a fascinating way to learn. I mean, for some.
Yeah.
But, just start to feel the energy and tune everything out around you and connect to what sense are you getting? What vibe are you feeling? What is coming in? Because a lot of times new psychics will say, well, that dropped in my head, but that doesn't make sense. Just say it.
Yeah.
I don't know what things mean when they drop through that chute. Sometimes I'll get, okay, Frank, who's Frank?
Yeah.
Frank needs absolutely nothing in the moment. And then 2 weeks later, my client will say, oh my God, Frank, I know who Frank is. And
the light bulb.
Yeah.
It is wild because I think that's a struggle for people, especially people who like me are new in this. And like you said, you get the word peanut butter and you're like, really? Okay, here we go. Peanut butter be anything, the waterworks, the whole nine. But I think it's trusting the information for new sensitives is hard. So I would imagine that's somewhat of a focus for y'all too when you're teaching people psychic development. Somebody said to me once, stop asking, is it? And start saying it is. And I was like, oh, like stop making it a question and make it a statement instead. Because I think for so much, when you're new at this, you're still trying to determine if what you're getting is imagination or if you're getting information, information. And that could be difficult.
It can be hard to discern. And so that's why kind of the prep work is good. And to even imagine a switch in your rational brain, just turn that off for a moment and you can turn it back on once you get the downloads and then put the pieces of the puzzle together with your rational brain. But for me, when, you set the intention, you create the channel, you clear ground and shield, when something drops in, trust it. When you feel something, trust it, and then go from there.
Yeah. And that's hard, but that's, like you said, you do such a good job of there's not really any rules to this, but I definitely think there's sort of an order to things because once you open the box, if you don't learn the grounding first, because I learned that from you. That's what I teach the people I work with first is we can't do the rest of this if you don't have at least some base understanding of how you need to protect your energy because, and you work in the paranormal as well. So you have to be doubly careful, not from a terrifying, not like you're going to get taken over, but just from the drain as a sensitive. Like we both know when you're on a location and you've got activity, it's like watching a battery.
Right.
And if you don't have those basic fundamental tools, it's hard to jump into the rest of it.
Well, and when the divine energy is bigger, right?
Yes.
Than an energy of a few entities or spirits in a home. So our energy alone, okay, might still be considered bigger in the sense that we have the meat suit, but
Right.
when we're tapping into that giant energy grid and we're just feeling that flooding, then that is bigger than whatever's hanging around. But it requires a focus to stay connected to that, and then also assessing, for house clearings, the humans who are in the house and their interaction, because quite often, and I don't know if this is me and just because I do work with humans as well, a lot of times I'll get an attachment situation. For example, there were 2 child spirits who were living in this house in Jacksonville with some of my clients. It was a mom and 2 girls, and both girl was attracted and attached to one of the spirits each. They had full-on connections with them, relationship with them. They could see them. They were all very intuitive and psychic. And so what I had to do first was clear the circumstances around these child spirits, because there were some very traumatic things that happened in that space, that involved murder, that involved trafficking, just all kinds of stuff, on one level. And then another level was Native American burial.
Yep.
So there were layers, like you were speaking about before. And then there was these children who were kind of stuck with the human children. So we had to actually do a ceremony to release, to help the kids release the spirit kids and know they would be safe and going into, the arms of the angels and that kind of thing. But that was just fascinating. And once we did that, the Native American spirits came and rose up and encircled the building.
Oh.
And we were able to see, because all 3 of my clients there are very intuitive and are able to see spirits. So we all saw them.
Yeah.
And we played the flute music. We had a drum. We honored them, thanked them for their protection. And it was just really cool. It was just a really neat experience, but
powerful,
multi-layered again with this work.
It is. And I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like you have this issue here at this time period, and then you have these people, like you could have a gazillion different instances in one place from all these different time periods. And so you have a sensitive, or you have a group of investigators, and you're trying to decipher what layer belongs where. But that's why somebody like you is so important, because you're so in tune with that stuff that when you step on an investigation, you've already tapped in before you've even arrived. I'd be willing to bet like you're already getting stuff before you even get there. So you already have that connection to them before you've even stepped on the property.
Yeah, and it's amazing. And sometimes it takes more than one visit to untangle all of it and help everybody kind of be clear and released. And, the kids that lived there had their reasons for being so connected to those spirits. So that was something that got worked on too.
Sure.
In that, they didn't really have that many friends in the area because they had just moved there and different things. So it's just fascinating, this work. And it just, I don't know, because it's unexpected, even though you could pick up what's going on, you never quite know, and you also don't know how the spirits are going to respond to the cleansing. I work a lot with Florida water, holy water, and different other sachet powders and things to cleanse the space, and spiritual symbols and totems to create protection based on what the family or the people are comfortable with having in their home. So it's fun that way too.
It's fun too. But you also they have to be able to trust you coming in, even from the spirit end of things. And that's not always an easy thing to establish either. you know, to be able to go in and be like, listen, I'm not trying to come in here and manhandle people. We're just trying to like clear some energy. Like I'm not trying to throw any weight around in here, but they have to be able
No.
to trust you enough as a person to come in and handle it in an appropriate manner. And I find that side of things fascinating because you're helping both. You're literally the go-between between the living and the dead. And you're helping both. It's fascinating to me.
That's the medium, you know, that's the mediumship channel. And I really feel like that's what excites me the most, because it just seems to have the most palpability in terms of spiritual power and energy to really change things overall.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of the spirits want to help us. There's that whole topic too of star seeds and, you know, people from other planets and things that want to help, energies from there. And
I love, they're my favorites.
There's just so much that I don't know, you know, that I'm just excited to be part of. And I'm impressed, to tell you the truth, when anyone trusts me, because why would you trust somebody? To me, that's spirit, you know, that's the divine, that
energy.
Somebody was drawn to reach out, and then we click and we go into this realm that maybe they can't talk to another soul about, you know?
That's I think the empath side
It's
too, you know?
Yeah.
So I know we've only got like, what time is it? 10:47. So I know we're going to be getting the whole 5-minute ringer shortly.
Okay.
So if you want to give the rundown on classes, or do you do much online?
No classes. I do readings and sessions online.
Okay, so give us that, because a lot of our people are not in Florida. We've got them from all over the place. So give us, we've talked, you know, if you want to talk more about Nourish and the other offerings, but I think for, you know, readings, things like that, it'd be good for people to know, so that we can, and I'll put up all your information on Andrea's different channels so that they can find you that way as well. But if you want to kind of let people know what those offerings look like online, so people can kind of hit you up for those as well.
Yes. Well, let's talk about the readings, because I see clients from all over the world remotely. We can Skype or FaceTime, and readings are usually an hour. I use tarot, pendulums, divination tools, and channeling. We can also do chakra and cord cuttings online, energy clearings, past life regressions, Akashic records readings, and you can get a really nice juicy mediumship and Akashic reading. One of my favorite ones to do. That's a nice one.
I can vouch for all of those because I've done them all with her.
Yay.
I think all of them. But those you can do all online, Skype and Zoom. And then do you do strictly like card readings as well online? Like
I do card readings online.
You'll do all that.
Card readings, oracle, Akashic, channeling, spiritual coaching. I also do. And then we can even, you know, advise about house clearings and blessings and rituals. There are some people that are already kind of advanced in this work and just want to know kind of different recipes and things to do. So I also have communicated that way. And I have lots of little ritual things, candle things, different little other tools that people can utilize. So let's see what else. The classes, if you're local to St. Augustine, Sunday we are having a kids psychic development and an adult psychic development, focusing on the pendulum for kids, how to use it, and then tarot for adults. So if y'all are in the area and you're interested in that, you can contact me, you know, through the website or through my text or email.
And we'll have put up. Is your preferred way of getting contacted through the website?
Website or well, Instagram is great.
Okay.
My Instagram there. So through the website or through text is fine.
Okay. And the Instagram handle is at Find Your Divine Connection, correct?
Yes, with the underscores.
Okay. We'll put that up. Bill might be setting up his other show, but we'll put that up so that everybody knows where to find you. There it is. That's her website. And then I'll make sure to get the Instagram information up. And I think we did get so we have like
great. And you can actually schedule through the website too. There's a link to my online scheduler, and then you can see all the services that I offer.
Perfect.
And go from there. And if you're not sure what service you want, you can book a 15-minute free consultation. We can kind of go through what's going on, and then I can recommend certain things. But really, the first step would be the Akashic mediumship tarot reading, because that will kind of give us the overview.
And what an overview it is. Having
Yes.
had one done, it is detailed, it is thorough, it is shocking in all the best ways. And I am so glad that I finally got to get our schedules to cross up in a good way. And again, I am just so grateful for everything that you've done for me. I mean, if I hadn't walked in your door that day, I wouldn't be here in this particular chair. And just the patience, the kindness, the knowledge, the love, the care that you've given to me has been unlike anything else I've received as far as getting help that I needed at the time. And so I just wanted to get a chance to kind of show you to everybody over here as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And thanks to Andrea. I hope I get to meet you someday. This is an amazing show. I want to delve into, past podcasts and see all that's going on. I'm just excited to explore here as well. So,
well,
thank
she's,
you for the opportunity.
She loves the spirits, but her real mojo is the galactic family. So we have that whole end too that we can get into on another
That's
time.
a whole other conversation.
It is a whole other conversation.
Yes.
Yeah. So
thank you, Erin.
Thank you for coming on. And so I wanted to say thank you to everybody for joining us tonight. It was nice to be back. Andrea will be back next Friday night. And we'll put up all of Catherine's contact information, website, Instagram, email, all that good stuff. So if you want to book sessions online, you can. But it's really been great to have you here. And then don't hang up when we're done. Just hang tight. So on that closing note, thank you everyone for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great weekend.
Good night.